Hello students, in previous video we discussed about the table tag, the tags which are used within the table tags, for example TR tag, TD tag. We also learned about caption tag. We had an overview of what is cell spacing, what is cell padding, and we also saw the syntax of table tag. We discussed in detail about the table tag, caption tag, TR tag, TD tag, and also we discussed about border tag. Sorry, border is not a tag, border is an attribute of table tag. So we discussed in detail about border attribute of table tag. Also we discussed the width attribute of table tag. We just had an overview of cell padding and cell spacing. Today I want to explain TH tag. We have discussed all the elements of table tag which is mentioned in our textbook, the table tag, caption tag, TR tag and TD tag, and we have to discuss about TH tag. So let us see the example of TH tag. Here's the example of what is TH tag. Let us first read the theory. Defines a table header cell. I had given you overview of TH tag, but we had not done this in detail. This defines the table header cell. It defines the heading, you can say. By default, the text in this cell is bold and centered. By default, the text for the TH tag is bold and centered. Table header cells may contain other attributes also. So what are those attributes that we will learn later? But let us see the example of TH tag. I hope you are clear with table row, TD, table data. So instead of TD, we can use TH tag as a table heading. TH. TH by default, the content within the TH tag, starting TH tag and closing TH tag, will be bold and centered. So this ABC should be in bold and centered. So let us see the output. See, it is by default bold and centered. Similarly, if I want to use this as a heading, I will use TH tag. Similarly, if I want to use this as heading, I will use the TH tag. Also, there is one thing mentioned here is here table header cells may contain other attributes to determine the characteristics of the cells or its contents. For example, like I will use align attribute. Align is equal to, let us see, left. Let's see if it's working. Yeah, so we can use attributes within the TH tag. We can determine the characteristics of the cell or the contents of the cell. So I hope you are clear with all the table elements. So I want to continue with the examples which we had started in the previous video. We were done with table with no border and caption. This we are done with table with background color and image with border. So let us see this example. We are done with first example. Let us see the second example. Let us see the second example. The example is about border background color and image with border. Table with background color. How we can set the background color of the table, and how to have image with border. Image means how we can set background color and background image. How we can set the background color of the table, or how we can set the background of the table as image. And as we have already seen the border attribute of table tag, so I will not repeat that here in this video. So this is the example where we will see how to set the background of color of the table, and also how to set an image as a background for the table. So let us see the example. H4 is the heading tag. This will be used to, by default this will be bold, and the size of the text will vary according to H4. Here we have table tag whose border is equal to 1. If I'm just revising it, if I will not use the border attribute, there will be no border for the table. So it is important to use border attribute within the table to see the border in the output. Now if I want to set the background color of the table, I need to use bg color as attribute for the table tag. So we can use the bg color is equal to blue. So let us see the output. Let us see the output. This is the table, and the background color of the table is blue in color. This table has one row which has 3 columns. This row is closed, table is closed. Second is how we can set the image as a background within the table. Again, we have used H4 tag, a background image. As you can see, a background image. Then what we have is table tag, border attribute of the table tag. Then we will use background attribute to set image as a background. So when I will use background attribute, the value of background attribute is equal to, will be the absolute path. If you remember, we had done in links absolute path and relative path. In absolute path, what we had learned? Complete path and relative path. So I will not repeat that again here. Here I will give the complete path for the image. For example, there is an image whose name is snow.jpg. .jpg is the extension of the image file, and this is the complete path where this image is stored in my hard disk. It is in E drive within the directory 12th. Within the directory example for students, within the directory table, I have a file snow.jpg. How we can get the relative path? Absolute path means complete path. How we can get the absolute path? For example, I have for example, I have this. I'll right click on this. This is an image file. Right click on this, properties, copy the location of the file, copy it. Okay, copy it, and I have to specify the name of the file and extension of the file. So I will use the backward slash, and let us see what's the name of the file. Name of the file is star, and the extension of the file is .jpg. This is the extension of the file. This is the star. Star is the name of the file. So let me copy it and paste it here, and the extension of the file is .jpg. Again I will copy it and paste it here. I'll save it and let us see the output. See, the background image of the file is changed. Okay, so I want to keep it default, which is this. I will save it. I want to have this image as my background, so I have undo it. Let us see. It has got one row in which it has got first column and the second column. This row is closed. Second row, it has got 1 and 2 columns, that is closed. Table tag is closed, and body tag and HTML tag is closed. So I hope it's clear with you how to set the background color of the table and how we can set the background image to the background of the table. One more thing I want to tell is, in BG color attribute we have used value as blue. As you can see here, we have used the value as blue. If I want to have this, we can use the value as hex value also. If you remember, we had done I had shown you in one of the video the different hex values for different colors. So for example, for red, I remember is hash FF0000. So this is the hex value for red. So if I'll save it and refresh it, the background color will be red. This hex value is for the red. So we have done this in detail in previous video. So I will not be repeating it here. So this is the end of the second example, which is background, how to set the background color of the table and how to set image as a background to the table with border and without border. That I have already explained you. Let us see the third example, which is given in the, here it is, list of common HTML color codes for silver, gray, black. These are the hex color codes. Maroon, yellow. Likewise for blue is hash 0000FF. Okay, so let us see the third example. Table with cell spacing. Cell spacing, as I have already explained you, cell spacing means the space between the cells. I will show you the example first. For cell spacing, here is the third example, cell spacing, and I want to show you the output also. Cell spacing means the space between the cells. For example, this is one of the cell and this is the second cell. So space between the two cells. This is one of the cells, this is the one of the cell. The space between the two cells is known as cell spacing. So let us see what's written about cell spacing here. Cell spacing. This is the attribute of table tag. We are done with this. Table elements completely. We are clear with all the tags within the table elements. Now we just now finished the BG color attribute of the table tag. One of the attribute also we have done background, which is not mentioned here. I think it's not mentioned here, but background is used to set image as a background for the table. So we are doing cell spacing. Let's see. Before that, let us see what is written for the BG color. It sets the color of the background for the table. This color can be overridden by a BG color tag in the TH, TR or TD tags. Okay, so you know where TD tag is used, where TR tag is used. If you can see the example here, this is the TR tag, this is for row, TD is for the table data. Instead of TD, we can use TH also to specify the table heading. So if I am going to use BG color as attribute for the TD tag or for the TR tag or for the TH tag, that will override the BG color attribute of table tag, because the BG color attribute of table tag will set the background color of the entire table. And if I will use BG color as attribute for TR tag, it will set the specific color which I will specify as a value for the BG color attribute, will set the background color of that particular table row. And if I will use BG color as attribute for TD tag, that means that BG color attribute will set the background color for that particular table cell only. So the BG color attribute of TD tag or TR tag or TH tag will override the BG color attribute of table tag. I hope it's clear to you. So let us see the example first. Okay, we were doing this, and let us see the output also. This was the output. I want to use BG color for this. Actually, it has only one row, so I will use TD, or I will add another row here in the table. TR tag, here's the second row. TD instead, yeah, okay, TD 400, TD close, TD 670, TD close, TD 500, TD close, and TR close. Let us see the output. I'll save it and refresh it. So I have got the second row also. And instead of TD, I will use TH here. I'll save it, refresh it. By default, the content will be bold. TH content will be bold and align center. So here I wanted to tell you that if I will use BG color as an attribute for TH tag is equal to, for example, I am using blue. So this will be only for this, and it will override the BG color attribute of the table. So here, instead of hexadecimal code, I will use red. So it will show red only. So actually the BG color of the table is red, but as I have specified the background color of this cell as blue, it will override the BG color attribute of table tag. Similarly goes with the TD. If I want to use BG color for this particular cell 670, 670. As suppose I want to use green, so I will specify the value as green. I'll save it. Let us see. So it is overriding the bg color attribute of table tag. So this attribute is also done. Now let us see what is cell spacing. We had started with cell spacing, so we will do cell spacing also. I will open the example of cell spacing. So the space between the two cells is known as cell spacing. As I have already told you, this space between the two cells is known as cell spacing. So let us see what's written about cell spacing. Attribute of table tag. Cell spacing and the value we will have to specify. This value will be in pixels. Determines the amount of space in pixels between individual cells in a table, and the default is 2. If I will not specify the cell spacing, when I'm not using cell spacing, when I'm not using the cell spacing, here as you can see I have the table, and here I have not used the cell spacing attribute. Cell spacing is the attribute of table tag. So I should use cell spacing within the table tag as an attribute of table tag. So here I have not used the cell spacing. I haven't used any cell spacing attribute in table tag. So by default, the cell spacing, the space between the two cells is 2. I have not specified the attribute within the table tag, so by default the space between the two cells is equal to 2 pixels. If I will specify cell spacing, the cell spacing is equal to 1, because by default is 2. So let us see what happens if I will set the cell spacing as 1. I will save it and refresh it. It has reduced. The space between the two cells have reduced. So if I will use 0, let us see. I'll save it and refresh it. There will be no space between the two cells. So default is 2. And if I don't want any space between the two cells, I will set the value of cell spacing is equal to 0. Here I have a table which doesn't have any cell spacing attribute. So by default the space between the two cells will be 2 pixels. It has got one row which has 2 columns. It has got first row and it has got 2 columns. It has got second row and the 2 columns, and table is closed. Second is example with cell spacing. This was without cell spacing. This is with cell spacing. So table tag border is equal to 1, cell spacing is equal to 40. Same table, but as you can see, the space between the two cells will be 40 pixels. Okay. So this was an example of cell spacing. Now let us see what is the next example. So we are done with cell spacing. I will close it. Next example, let us see what's given. We have got cell padding. Let me tell you what is cell padding. I have the example of cell padding here. And let us see the output also. Cell padding. The space between the border of the cell and the content of the cell is known as cell padding. So let us see what's written in the theory. This is the fourth example which we are doing mentioned in the textbook. Cell padding. This is the attribute again. This is an attribute of table tag. So cell padding determines the amount of space in pixels between the border of a cell and the contents of the cell. Same thing which I have told you. The default is 1. Again here also the default is 1. The space between the border of the cell and the content of the cell by default is 1. The space between the content of the cell and the border of the cell is by default 1. So here as you can see, without cell padding, table is equal to table tag, border attribute is equal to 1. As we know, cell padding, the default value is 1. So let us see what happens if I will change the default value to 0. Cell padding. What is the meaning of default? Default means automatically. Even if I have not used the cell padding, the space between the content of the cell and the border of the cell will be 1. By default, even if I'm not using the cell padding attribute in the table tag. So cell padding is equal to, let us change it to 0 and let's see what we observe. The space between the border of the cell and the content of the cell has reduced to 0. So this was an example of without cell padding. What happens without cell padding? I have deleted what I had written. Let us see the output. The space between if I have not used the cell padding, the space between the content of the cell and the border of the cell is by default 1. It has got again 2 rows. This I don't have to explain again and again. So second is with cell padding. Table tag, again I have used a table tag for the second table. Okay, this is the second table. Border attribute is equal to 1, cell padding is equal to 40. So the space between the content of the cell and the border of the cell is 40 pixels. The space between the content of the cell and the border of the cell is 40 pixels. Again, I don't have to explain the TR tag, TD tag. So this is known as cell padding. So in table attributes, we are done with border, BG color, border, cell padding, cell spacing. With the remaining attributes we will do in the next video. For today, we will stop here. Thank you.